Vita Vea's status is now in doubt for week 1 against the Falcons. That and more on today's episode of Locked On Bucs.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome into this episode of Locked On Bucs, your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen review every day. Don't forget you can subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can follow along on Twitter. I am James Yarcho at JYarcho_Bucs. He is Evan Closky at ECloskyWTSB. We are your credentialed members of the media covering your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, you can find Evan on 10 Tampa Bay, 10tampabay.com, and the 10 Tampa Bay Plus app. You can find me here 5 days a week along with the everydayers. And for that, I want to share my appreciation for your continued support of the show. One of the ways you can support the show is become a Locked On Bucs insider. You are going to get news, rumors, updates, general thoughts, one-on-one conversations with me via text message. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs or click the link in the show notes to become an insider today. Key matchups and the epic return of Closky's crystal ball. That is all coming up in a little bit, but we're going to start this one off with the concerning news that Vita Vea missed practice again on Thursday with a foot injury. Now, Greg Auman tweeted out that it's been categorized as sore, and keeping him out of practice is a way to increase his odds of playing this weekend. On the crossover episode yesterday, Locked On Falcons host Aaron Freeman mentioned that he feels like Vita Vea doesn't practice all week every time they're getting ready to play the Falcons, giving them just a sliver of hope that he won't be out there just for him to suit up and create all kinds of havoc. But Evan, how concerned are you that Vita doesn't play on Sunday?
Typically in this scenario, I would be really concerned. I am not 100% there as in terms of sounding the alarms, but I'm right there in the middle. I do not know what to make of this news, and part of it is it's very concerning to have a guy miss practice back-to-back days of week 1, game planning for the first opponent, when you just had 4 days off. Essentially, you had 6 days off. You had a bonus practice on Monday, which was, nothing crazy going on there. So for him not to be out there Wednesday and Thursday, that's a problem. But then on the flip side, Vita, I don't think missed a day of training camp. I think he was pretty much out there every day. He knows the defense like the back of his hand. He doesn't have to practice. And if Todd Bowles is saying, hey, you don't feel 100% well, don't worry about it. We'll get you in the mix Friday there or whatever it might be, and we'll get you rolling, then, Vita can do that. He ain't no rookie. He understands the deal. So, Vita doesn't have to be out there, and if it's just to make sure, okay, we're just going to give you a little extra time on this, considering it's bothering you, and we understand the marathon ahead, then I get it. But, this is a big game. I don't want to make, if they lose it, they're 0-1. It's not that big of a deal. But it is a divisional game. It is against a team that you lost to twice last year. It is most likely your stiffest competition in the division. You should be at full go. It's not a nothing burger, but I'm just not there telling you all to panic quite yet. Obviously, Todd Bowles, you're listening to this, depending when you're listening to this, hopefully Todd Bowles has already made a statement saying he's probable or questionable, whatever it might be, and not out. But, yeah, we'll have all the answers there Friday afternoon.
Well, I told the insiders when we were all discussing it, I was like, this has game time decision written all over it, just so that we can stress all weekend long about whether or not Vita Vea is going to play. But we will talk about it on Friday night because I'm still going live Friday night for the final preview episode, even though this is dropping theoretically Friday morning. Friday live for those of you that want to partake in the first one of the year. On a lighter note, Evan, we do get to see the debut of Josh Grizzard, the Grizz, as they call him,
as the youngins say, Grizz.
Grizz the Wiz.
Grizz the Wiz, is that the thing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's what I just called him. I don't know if I've seen anybody else say that, but
everyone out there, let James know if you are a fan of Grizz the Wiz.
Well, we'll see how much of a whiz he is on Sunday. How confident are
I don't
you?
like how much fun you're having with this.
How can you not enjoy this? I mean, this is I cannot wait to drop my first Grizz the Wiz on the Blitz this year. But how confident are you in his debut? As an NFL play caller.
Confident, yeah. Judging by how he handled third downs last year, seemed like a pretty good guy to me. Having said that, we just don't know. But look, the Bucs have won 4 straight season openers. 3 of them they've had different OCs for. They won back-to-back with Liam and Dave doing it for the first time. Liam at least had experience calling plays. Canales did not. And, if we remember back to Dave's experience with the Bucs, there were some growing pains. Dave was someone who traditionally started games horrendously and would figure it out as he went along. Liam was the opposite. Liam was just awesome almost all the time, but certainly the way that he started games stood out. And so you had kind of going off of 2 different ends of the spectrum. But I would be surprised if Grizz did not hit some speed bumps along the way. And just in general, watching the offense operate for most of camp, it was a little bit up and down, little bit spotty, disjointed. One guy making a mistake here, this not executing there. So that's kind of what I'm expecting Sunday, for fans to be like, what the heck happened to my top 5 offense? Like, I thought you guys were going to be a little bit better than that. And we're going to find out how much, not having Godwin and Wirfs out there hurts Grizz and calling plays. But I would imagine working under Liam, working under McDaniel, knowing all the call-up periods he's had, the preseason games, he's prepared. He's ready to go. And so at this point, he's just got to face the live bullets and learn on the job.
Yeah, Bucs under Todd Bowles as head coach, 2-0 to start every season, but the Falcons have won 4 of the last 5 between these 2 teams. So something's got to give. I'm going to put my faith in our local wizard, Josh Grizzard there. All right, key matchups if the Bucs are going to win. That is coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, easy, and honestly, one of my favorite ways to follow along with football. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. This is Mazda's Moving the Game Forward, brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible. They remind us to go the extra yard, shift into that extra gear, and keep moving the game forward. Heading into 2025, the Bucs are focused on making sure they're as unstoppable as possible, which is why they used their first-round pick on another weapon for quarterback Baker Mayfield. Emeka Egbuka is the kind of player many viewed as a luxury for the Bucs, but in reality, he's going to play a major role in their success. With Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan out, Egbuka is expected to play a pivotal part of the Bucs offense early in the season, and that's what keeps fans and players alike moving forward, always chasing the next great moment. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thank you again for making Locked On Bucs your first listen review every day. Last week, you got the NFC South preview, and it is not too late to binge every Locked On division preview. Be the most informed NFL fan in an 8-episode series, bringing you every division winner, breakout star, and Super Bowl contender. Find the link in the description.
You got this.
To the Locked On NFL playlist on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Evan, games always come down to matchups. Last year, the Falcons just matched up better against the Bucs. It's easy to match up better when you're using beer vendors and ticket takers as cornerbacks in these games. But if the Bucs are going to win, what are the big matchups that the Bucs have to, individually win? Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. What's the big matchup there for you in this game?
Charlie Heck on the edge, right? I think that Charlie Heck not being a problem. I think that's what we want to see. And I think the offense is going to be built around making sure the team sprays the ball quickly, doesn't put Baker in harm's way. But I think that, making sure that Charlie Heck is able to do his job over there and not get Baker punished. Also, I want to see Emeka Egbuka in the slot. I'll get to Mike Evans later in this podcast, but the Falcons last year were not great in the slot. They were actually pretty bad. So putting Emeka in there on paper should be a plus matchup for him. Finding ways for Mike to sneak into that slot position via motion and all this stuff, that would be a plus matchup. So I think what I'm looking at is Charlie Heck and then Emeka Egbuka winning against the slot corner over there for the Falcons.
You know what I love about that is the fact that on the crossover episode, my key matchup for the Bucs was Emeka Egbuka versus Mike Hughes. Hughes' worst game last season was at home against the Buccaneers. I think he's going to struggle in that aspect. And then my other, key to victory was keep Baker from getting blown up on the left side of that line. And Charlie Heck needs to do what he can to protect him. We're talking about a Falcons pass rush that now has Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. And, as Aaron said, nobody talks about the Falcons pass rush, so he appreciated the fact that I said that is a concern for me because it's never been a concern for anybody. So I like that we're on the same page already. But let's flip it over to the defensive side. This is a Falcons team that Kirk Cousins was the one that cooked them twice in a row. Kyle Pitts had a game where he was over 80 yards. He had a game where he was over 90 yards with 2 touchdowns. And Kyle Pitts is barely ever over 9 yards, let alone getting almost 100 and 2 touchdowns in a single game. So on the defensive side, what's kind of your key matchup there?
Well, the Bucs got a nice new piece in Hassan Reddick. And considering the offensive line issues that they also have, let's have a coming out party for Hassan Reddick, right? Let's get a couple of sacks from him. So I think Reddick is a big one. Just, Vita plays an important part here, but Reddick and Yaya working in tandem over there. But really, I think Reddick against the edges, and then also Servassier Dennis. Kyle Pitts has had quite the disappointing career for the Falcons, but he has quite the history against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He does.
Four of his 6 career games against the Bucs, I think he has reached 4+ receptions. His receptions line, by the way, is at 3.5, the last I checked. And then his receiving yards line is at 33.5. And I don't think Pitts has ever gone south of 40 against the Buccaneers in all 6 of his games. So if you're looking for best bets, Kyle Pitts, considering we all watched this linebacker group last year, and I know KJ Britt was there versus Servassier, and I know that Servassier looked good in coverage the first couple of games there, but I got to see it because right now if I'm Atlanta, I'm attacking these linebackers still. I'm looking at them. I'm not scared. I mean, Levante is a dude, but he's not the same guy that he once was in coverage. And he's going to have a huge task against Bijan Robinson. So for me, it's going to be Servassier. How do you look in coverage against a guy like Kyle Pitts? Because I'm sure you're going to have to handle that role a little bit.
Yeah, it's crazy you bring that up. So I just brought up Kyle Pitts' career numbers versus every team in the league. He has more yards against the Bucs than any other team in the NFL. 404 yards and 3 touchdowns on 26 receptions. That's the most receptions he has against any team. That's the most yards he has against any team, the most touchdowns he has against any team. The closest to that is the Panthers, where he has 24 receptions for 348 yards and 1 touchdown.
He gets to play the South teams a lot.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going. You think, okay, well, yeah, obviously they're in the same division. He gets to play them twice a year. He's played 2 more games against the Panthers than he has the Bucs. He only played 6 times against the Buccaneers. He's got 8 games against the Panthers, just for reference. Against the Saints, he's played 7 games, less than 200 yards in 7 games against the Saints. So Kyle, my son asked me on our way to hockey practice today. He goes, should I start Kyle Pitts over Travis Kelce in fantasy? And I'm like, yeah, you absolutely do that because there's only one team that Kyle Pitts can ever perform against. So it's that's one that's going to have Bucs fans on edge a little bit. You obviously mentioned it, Servassier Dennis. That's very different than being covered by KJ Britt or Devin White. But we also aren't really sure what kind of impact Voss is going to have because we haven't seen enough of it. We're all hopeful. We're all optimistic. But this could turn out to be a Kyle Pitts game. And if I'm Michael Penix, I'm looking for the easy targets. I'm looking for the dump-offs and the high percentage throws. That means it's going to be a lot of Bijan and a lot of Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think you really – this is going to be really Penix's 4th start. I think 5th game, 4th start. And typically Todd Bowles does well against rookie quarterbacks. Like it's kind of weird. Penix doesn't really fit that descriptor, but he hasn't played a lot of games. Last year he did go up against Dan Quinn and a very good Commanders squad, but he also then played like a crap Giants defense, a crap Panthers defense. Really, this is going to be a tough test for Penix. He is going up in class against this defensive mastermind here, and Raheem will have a good idea of what Todd wants to do, but Todd's 2-0 for a reason to begin seasons, and that's because he takes his concepts and he twists it just enough to screw with you until there's tape. So I'm very intrigued to see what Penix is going to do against Todd Bowles and the calamity that he'll create.
All right, well, you all know what time it is. It's crystal ball time. That is coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on who delivered powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For the Buccaneers, Luke Gedeke delivered in a big way over the last 2 seasons since switching from guard to right tackle, and that's why he was rewarded with a new contract, making him the 3rd highest paid right guard or right tackle in the NFL. If you've paid close attention to the Bucs the last 2 years, you know his performances haven't been a fluke. And just like Gedeke delivered for the Bucs, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Wrapping things up here on today's episode of Locked On Bucs.
That's a juiced up intro.
I'm excited.
He's jacked, people. He is jacked.
Well, it's finally here. It's so weird because training camp started earlier than I remember it starting the last couple of years.
Felt like a long training camp.
It feels like this offseason has been 5 years. So, yeah, it's finally time for Evan to pull out and dust off that crystal ball. I texted him earlier like, hey, it's crystal ball time. Make sure you get it all shined up and calibrated so that we get an accurate representation of what's going to happen. But you guys know how this works. We're going to talk about a bold prediction, a predicted player of the game, the score. This one's going to have a bonus. We'll get to that at the very end. But Evan, let's kick things off. What is your bold prediction for the Bucs and Falcons in week 1?
Bold prediction. They didn't have one last year. I'm trying to remember the last time off the top of my head, actually. I should have looked this up before we did this. Regardless, there's going to be a pick six. The Bucs are going to have a pick six on Michael Penix Jr. That is my bold prediction. Who it is, I don't know, but I think it's still bold enough. Oh man, this is gonna irk me. Was it Shaq Barrett?
It was very good. I just looked it up. Shaq Barrett was the last pick six against the Chicago Bears.
I still got it, folks.
In week 2 of the 2023.
That was a big pick against Justin Fields, and they were like trying to come back in that game. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, we were debating before if pick six was bold enough, and now, I think it definitely is.
Yeah, almost 2 full seasons since they've had one. Yeah, that's bold. Well, and I had mentioned, the Bucs against the Falcons last year, they lost the turnover battle 3-1. They didn't have an interception, or no, was it an interception that Levante got, or was it a fumble recovery?
It was an interception.
It was an interception. But this was a team as a whole that didn't get a lot of interceptions last season. They led the NFL in interceptions in the preseason. We have to see that carry over. And I realize Falcons in week 1 is not the preseason, but the message has been the same since, the combine. Todd Bowles saying, I want ball hawks. We need to take the ball away, not just bat it down, not just deflect it. These guys have to be able to take the ball away. So it is bold. Even more bold than I originally thought. I will accept it. You want to double down and just pick a player just for fun. We won't count it against you if you get it wrong, but speak it into existence.
All right. Speaking it into existence. I'm going to go Zion. It's a cop-out answer, but I'm expecting to have a big year. He's got the best mitts, I think, on the defensive side of things. I know Antoine is up there as well, but I'm going to say that it's going to be like a quick out, and he's going to jump it. See you later.
Very Jamel Dean-esque against the Packers back in 20.
Yes, Aaron. Yeah, he saves all his interceptions against guys who don't throw interceptions.
Yes, exactly.
Herbert, Rodgers. Everything else, he stone hands.
Yeah. All right. Who is your predictive player of the game?
I am so high on this guy to begin the year because the offense is going to have to go through him. until Chris comes back and since McMillan's down. Mike Evans.
Oh.
I hate you. I genuinely hate you. Mike Evans. I see I see him going hundo, maybe like maybe in the 90s, but hundo, 6-7 receptions, a tutty. He has 7 touchdowns in week 1 in his career. Only Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Hopkins have more actively in the NFL. And so I just think I think they're just going to feed him. They have to. And that connection has been so good throughout camp. I just have a tough time believing that Baker isn't going to always go to his safety valve, which is Mike Evans. He knows how important he is. He knows how good he is. He trusts him. And those two, they have it. They have that connection. So I'm expecting Mike Evans for a big opener.
Yeah, I do expect Evans to have a big game. Falcons, he dominates them. Second most receiving yards against any team in the NFL, second most receiving touchdowns against any team that he's faced in the NFL, second most receptions. You get the idea. The most shocker, Carolina. We knew it wasn't going to be the Saints, but yeah, Mike Evans is going to be vital. He's going to be huge. And something that I had mentioned on yesterday's show was that I expected a really, really heavy workload for Egbuka early in this game. I feel like Raheem Morris is going to say, let's put all of our focus on Mike. Let's put all of our focus on Bucky. Let's force the rookie to beat us. Let's force, Cade Otton or Payne Durham or whoever the tight end is to beat us. Make sure that it's not Mike, but it's the Falcons. They've never been able to stop Mike, even when that's their game plan.
Correct.
So, yeah, I expect a big game from him. Have him as one of my anytime touchdown scorers in my week 1 parlay. All right, Evan, it's a shot to open up the season with a lead in the division. Get a big road win against a rival that you have not beaten since 2023. Do the Bucs get it done? What is your score prediction?
My score prediction, it's going to be an under. I do not believe both offenses will look great in this game. I think, as I alluded to before, that many in the fan base are going to say, what the heck happened to our top 5 offense? I think there will be some questions for Josh Grizzard. I think we will go through all of that after this game, but I did mention a pick 6, which is going to help the Buccaneers immensely because I have them winning 20-17. I got this game going under. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be grimy. I think it's going to be field position. And I think 1 or 2 plays is going to determine the winner. And in the end, when it's all said and done, that interception that goes into the end zone is going to be the narrative that we all talk about and say they emphasize turnovers, and boom, that's why they won week 1. So if you're not 100% happy with how this offense is going to run, you heard it here first. Not going to happen. So, I just I believe the Bucs defense is a bit underrated entering the season, and I think they're going to be a lot better than what people think, at least to start until more injuries kind of happen. But I will say, if Vea is out, circle back to me because that might really affect my thoughts because he is such a vital point, such a vital part of the defense, but also stopping the run. And without Vita, you're going up against Bajan. That is a problem. So I will. So right now, 2017. If Vea is out, I might flip to the Falcons.
All right. Well, I will check with you before I go live Friday night. I'm putting a note in my show doc of what your score is and to check back in with you. Bonus crystal ball prediction here because the season doesn't officially start as we're recording this for like 10 more minutes. What's the Super Bowl prediction this year, Evan? Who's going to hoist the Lombardi, and why will the Super Bowl MVP be Bucky Irving?
Look, I would not be surprised if the Bucs were there in Santa Clara, believe me. But I do think it's time for some new blood. I do think it's time for MVP to finally get his championship. I know a lot of people out there predicting the Bills. I'm not one of them. I'm going with Lamar. It's Lamar's time. Lamar will beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl and finally get his ring that he said he would on draft day.
It's going to be really difficult for Lamar to win the Lombardi if he's losing to the Buccaneers in a battle of the quarterbacks that should have been in the AFC North. Evan, what do we have going on over at 10 Tampa Bay, 10tampabay.com, and the 10 Tampa Bay Plus app?
We are going to have the Blitz up and running. Going to be recording it this year on Fridays at 3:00 in hopes of getting it to the mass public here a little bit sooner than what we've done in the past. So you can find that on 10 Tampa Bay Plus. You can find that also on 10 Tampa Bay Sundays in the morning at 7:30, 8:30. And then also the Ultimate Florida Sports Show is on 10 Tampa Bay Plus. That first airs on Thursdays at 7, but it repeats a million times, so you can find it whenever you want. Don't worry about that. We talk about all things Florida sports, so a lot of college in there as well. Jaguars, Dolphins, Rays, so on and so forth. We'll get into hockey season. That will be some more fun. And otherwise, check me out on 10 Tampa Bay, 6 and 11 o'clock. David Shealy, big congrats to him. New papa. He's on paternity leave. So you're going to be seeing a lot of me. You're going to be sick of me by the time we hit mid-October.
Never, ever. Unless we're talking about college football. All right, make sure you are checking out everything that Evan is doing over there on 10 Tampa Bay, 10tampabay.com, and the 10 Tampa Bay Plus app. Follow on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at Yarcho_Bucs, at Closky WTSB. Subscribe on YouTube with the notifications turned on, as well as wherever you get podcasts. Become an insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBucs or click the link in the show notes. If you want to support the show, but you don't want to become an insider, it's real simple. Like this episode on YouTube, leave a 5-star review wherever you get podcasts. It does help other Buccaneers fans find the show. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire the cannons. Want to thank you so much for joining us right here on Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.